That's great. If I can ask Joe and Mike to come back up, and we've got a few minutes where we can open up to questions and further discussion on the topic of how to integrate physical activity across multiple sectors. Anyone have any questions? I've got a couple while we're waiting. So, Joe, I know you mentioned that as you're developing the master bike plan, that you're one of the things you consider is how schools fit into this, and particularly safe route to schools. And do you have any further comment on how you're doing that?
Well, I think it first starts with the type of outreach we engaged in. We worked with Bike Walk KC to reach a few schools in the Kansas City, Missouri public school system to do some one-on-one classroom outreach. So I think that's how it started. And then one of our other pieces of analysis that we worked on was we looked at every public and private school, K through 12 in the city, and did a walk shed radius of about a half mile to make sure that our bike network that we're planning reaches that point. So those are the two key ways that we engaged schools in this citywide planning effort.
And has there ever been any school administrators, principals, or school board members that have said, we want our school to have safe routes to school coming to our facilities? Or is it mostly driven by your interests or Bike Walk KC's recommendations, things like that?
From the bike plan perspective, not necessarily, but my previous role in a professional planning capacity was as a Safe Routes to School coordinator with Bike Walk KC. In that role, yes, the answer is absolutely. Schools were to reach out to me, and they continue to reach out to Bike Walk KC's programs and say that we want active transportation programming and Safe Routes to School efforts in our schools.
That's great. Michael, as I was listening to your presentation and all the efforts that you went through to secure the passage of Complete Streets, so I wrote things down like power mapping, not only who the influencers are, but who influences the influencers, and you are doing vote counting. And this sounded, like watching a political thriller movie or something. And so can you maybe expand a little bit on that? I guess I always considered, us physical activity practitioners, public health practitioners, kind of being meek and, we'd like bike lanes, please, but that's not the case, it seemed like.
In terms of how we approached it, it was very much a understanding of we have to be comprehensive in how we approach this. It can't just be that we ask people to do this and just hope that it happens. One of the things that's really good with our policy team is that prior to me coming here, there was a big emphasis on developing relationships with several key council members who wanted to be better champions for things like active transportation, but didn't quite know enough about the jargon or necessarily know what they could do to be a part of that. And so having those relationships already established made not only getting that push done initially, but also it was really good to have that sort of inside track on, well, this council member who's our champion can tell us, well, these two council members are going to be for it. This one is on the fence, and I don't know about this one. So it really helped just to make everything a lot smoother, and I think that's a big reason why we were able to get the ordinance passed.
Okay, so thanks everyone for those nice presentations. And Amanda, thanks for showing those videos. I thought those were really neat. A couple of questions. One, can you tell us a little bit more about the activities? Was that something that teacher developed, or did you develop that in tandem with the teacher? And then one other question related. Can you maybe talk to the audience here a little bit about what we can do, what folks here can do to support schools and teachers to implement these kinds of activities? Do you have materials that we can use or point people to, or anything you can say about that?
So to answer your first question, so we met with all of the teachers involved in the study in both cases during their in-service time during August, which typically occurs like the week and a half before school starts. And during that time, we really encourage the teachers to develop those types of lessons on their own. If for some reason a teacher was having an issue developing those types of lessons, we then would meet with them further to develop lessons for them. But we really encourage the teachers to do it on their own. That way it would be hopefully sustainable and something that they can continue to do even after the program was done. And as far as materials go, we don't really have materials because we're still in the process of really finding out what is the best way to get teachers to do this type of program. Because like I've said, that they really feel that, even though it's only 10 minutes out of their day, delivering the program and thinking up those lessons still seems to be a challenge for them. Even though as us as researchers and maybe, those who aren't familiar with the classroom, it's a whole different world than we really actually thought it was. And that, 10 minutes seems to be an eternity to them because the kids are moving from specials to gym class, back to the classroom to do math, and then going somewhere else in the building. So it's really, we're still working on, coming up with the best formula for delivery. But if a teacher or someone else out there wants to get this type of program, and we actually received another grant to deliver the program, so if you want to come and talk to me, I'm happy to give you my contact information, and then we can work with your principal and superintendents to hopefully get the program into your schools.
That's great. I think we're at a time barrier, so thanks everyone. Thanks again to our speakers for this great session. And go ahead and you can give an active applause while we transition to the next session.